You could be leaving money on the table if your products don't stand out. Online business is competitive, so if your products don't stand out, your handmade business isn't going to grow. Standing out in business is really, really important, and this goes for people who are just starting out or if they are really experienced. You know, if you think of all of the brands that you know and recognise, it's usually because they stand out in some kind of way. For example, if you think of Diet Coke, you usually think of the hunky guy doing the workouts or the cool branding. Or if you think of Jack Wills stores, you think of all the cool in-store experience that you might have. And it's exactly the same in your online business. Now, people always make first impressions, whether you like it or not, about you and your store. So you really want to stand out and be memorable, and this will help you to make more sales. Now, if you're new, then this video will help you to find products which aren't too competitive and will enable you to stand out in a crowded marketplace. Now, I often speak to my students and clients who complain that a marketplace or a market might be too competitive and they don't know how to rank their products, and they might not even be able to find a product that they can sell. But to be honest, I think nearly every market has a lot of competition. I mean, that is unless you're selling something completely brand new like Elon Musk. Like if you sell t-shirts with Diamante Bulldog designs on them, like yes, your t-shirts are unique and you designed them. They're probably a bit too unique to be honest, but t-shirts as an overall category is not too competitive, but it is a competitive category. Now you'll still need to compete with the big brands like Nike or Adidas in order to get your products in front of the customers and to make a customer buy your products rather than theirs. Like a good example of this is Allbirds trainers. Now, trainers are one of the most competitive markets in the world. Like you're competing with brands like Reebok and Adidas and Nike, but Allbirds managed to compete with clever influencer marketing and Instagram targeting when they were starting out. They also made their brand all about having, you know, eco-friendly materials like wool and sustainably sourced rubber, and this was all part of the brand that they wanted to put out. Now, if you have a look at their marketing, you'll see that it's all really, really clever, and it all fits in with this eco-friendly, sustainable model which they want to put out. And if you have an awesome launch like they do, then you can stand out in a really massively crowded marketplace like trainers, even though you're only a Shopify store, which is what Allbirds are and still are to this day. All of their stuff is on Shopify. It's amazing, really. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have a launch exactly like Allbirds, though obviously that would be pretty cool, but on a much smaller scale, standing out when you start out is really, really important. Online business is competitive by its very nature. You know, it's quite easy to start an online store, but you want to make people stop what they're doing and have a look at what you're doing. And that is basically the key to all online marketing. Now, if you already have products, then what can you do to sell more of your products? Well, one thing that you could do is to make your products stand out on the page more vividly. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here, but changing some aspects of your products could make you stand out more and appear in more searches, and essentially that's going to make you more sales. Now, let's come to each of these two things in turn. So when I was starting out selling products online, I took a bit of a shotgun approach to making and sourcing handmade products in my category. I would look at all sorts of products that I could either make or sell, from like jewelry to candles, or to handmade pottery as well. But it was only when I started really niching down my products so that they fitted together into more of a coherent brand that the store really started to take off. Now, when your products do fit together and you have a store that sells lots of things together to the same audience in the same niche, you might find that customers buy more than one product, and this is awesome, and this is when you can really, really start to scale. So if you think about who your audience is, maybe before it is what you're making, then that could be a good place to start. Now, being niche is really, really important, as you know, you can't please everyone. And in fact, you don't want to please everyone. You don't want to be a jack of all trades. You want to be a master of one. Now, there is a saying that only works if you're American, and that is, the riches are in the niches. But that doesn't really work for me because I'm from England, as you can tell. So we have to say, the riches are in the niches, which doesn't really make that much sense. But a good example of niches is this video channel, for example. Now, I talk all about business, especially handmade business. Now, even though my ultimate aim is to become a countryfile presenter, if I started making videos about toads or bird spotting, then you'd probably be quite confused and you probably wouldn't subscribe to the channel, which, by the way, you should do right now. But especially on Etsy, a store that sells lots of strange things that don't really fit together wouldn't necessarily make sense, and it wouldn't be clear to the customer what exactly it is you're selling or what you're all about. So if even you think you've got a confused mess of products, then think just how confused your customer's going to be when they come to your page. Probably pretty baffled, I imagine. So let's take a look at an example now. So let's have a look at a few examples here. So firstly, we've got this brand here, a Saint by Saint. They haven't got a header image, so it's not really clear exactly what their shop's about. Their photos, they're not that good, they're a bit messy, and it's not really clear exactly what they sell. Like, they've got some baskets here, but the tops have been cut off. They've also got some jewelry which doesn't really fit in. They've also got aprons and some mats and some other products like baskets which don't really fit in, and they've even got these dolls down here, and it's not exactly clear what they're meant to be selling. So for me, I might buy one thing from this shop, but I wouldn't come back again and want to find out more things about them. But if we compare this to another store, for example, this one here, Nipa Hut. So you can see here immediately, you can see exactly what they do. Artisanal home goods, empowering indigenous artisans through trade. You've got the really nice pictures. And you've got things like a logo and some picture of the owner. You've also got some more reviews, and you can see their photos are all really consistent. So even though these two shops are both selling basket type things, Nipa Hut have got really nice photos, and this will make them stand out loads from the crowd. And I could buy one of these things, and then the sort of person that would buy something like this might also buy one of these baskets as well. So you can see that they might come back for more. Now, on Amazon, this is a bit less important when you're starting out, as products stand alone much more than they do on Etsy. Etsy has a lot more one-of-a-kind products, and Etsy really prioritizes shops which keep uploading products to their storefronts, and then they reward you by doing that. On Amazon, you don't get that same kind of reward. It's much more of a long-term game. And by the standalone products, what I mean is customers don't always see your store page on Amazon in exactly the same way as they do on Etsy. So having a brand isn't as important at first. Now, it will help you to be as consistent as possible for a few reasons when you're either making or sourcing your products. Because if you're using the same materials or to make all your products, or if you're using the same manufacturer to source all your products from, you can save tons and tons of time and money by going back to that same supplier in order to get your stuff. Another thing is, by serving the same market all the time, like remember I said, finding an audience is more important in some ways than creating products, but serving the same audience all the time will give you a real unique insight into what your customer is looking for. And knowing what your customers want will add a huge amount of value to your company, like both monetarily and just in how your company is viewed by your customers. And it's when you start doing that you can really start turning your customers into fans. Now, the trick here is to keep it simple and consistent, and you'll be able to get customers coming back and back to your store over and over again. So when starting out, or even when you're just revamping your store, think about what your niche is going to be. Now, the term I like to use here is called niching down, and this is when you take something broad and then you niche it to something that is a bit more specific. Now, one way to niche down is to think about what sort of customers are searching for your products and how they are searching for them. An example of this is, say your products are in homeware. Now, homeware is a massive category, and we'll come on to keywords in a little bit, but if you think you want to sell homeware, then you want to appear for the keyword homeware, you're going to be competing with some huge companies that have been around forever. People like John Lewis and stuff like that. Let's take another look at another example about how you can use keywords to find out what your niche is. So let's just use Google to demonstrate this point. If I Google homeware, for example, the top results are shops like Next, Dunelm Mill, Matalan, like Anthropology, Arket, Urban Outfitters, like massive shops. And how hard it would be to compete with John Lewis. And it's quite similar on Amazon and Etsy. The biggest sellers have more of a foothold on these big keywords. Now, if I niche this down a little bit, for example, boho homeware, I'll just search this in Google. If I go down here, then I start to see brands like, Vaunt Design, Bohemia Design, other brands that I've not really heard of. Now, these would be much easier to compete with once on Google, but also on Amazon and Etsy. And if I niche it down even further to boho macrame homeware, there are no stores that come up apart from Amazon and Etsy. So you can see by being niche, you can try and find customers that other people aren't targeting. Now, I'm not saying to you that macrame is necessarily a good product to sell. It might very well be. But I'm also not saying that if you can see no stores in Google competing for a keyword, then it's necessarily non-competitive. What I'm saying is just being as niche as possible when thinking about how you're going to target potential customers, and that's really important. And as I say, the riches are in the niches. Now let's look a little bit at keywords themselves. Now this part is really, really, really important whether you're new or experienced alike, so take a note of this bit. It's important to do market research when looking for products, and just as we touched on, you can do this simply by looking at the keywords that come up on Google. Now what you want to do is you want to find keywords that people are actually searching for, and this is called the search volume in nerd talk, but what that actually means is how many people are searching for your product, for that keyword, over a particular time period. Usually it's over a month. There are a few tools to help you here, and some are free and some are paid for. So for free tools, you can use things like Google Trends or Google AdWords, and they're really good for finding what people are searching for on Google. But if you want to be a bit more specific about the marketplace that you're in, so if it's either Amazon or Etsy, for example, there's a couple of paid tools which I really recommend, and there's some links to them in the comments under this video. But for Etsy, I recommend using Marmalade, which is a really, really cool keywords tool, and we'll have a look at that a bit later. But for Amazon, there's an amazing tool called Helium 10, and really I can't recommend it enough. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And we'll do a quick demo of how that works here, and I'll show you how you can use it to find keywords. So let's use this product as an example, because we were looking at the planter baskets before. So this is like hanging baskets from Amazon, and what we can see here is that it's a pretty nice product. It's obviously must be making some good sales because it's got some good reviews here. But one of the tools that you can use with Helium 10 to find keywords is one called Cerebro, and it's really, really good. And if you haven't used it before, I think it's going to blow your mind a little bit. But if I look up here, for example, what Cerebro does is it kind of scans a listing for keywords, and then it shows you some bits of data about it. And this is the search volume that I was talking about earlier. So this is how many people are searching for it per month. But you can see down here, these are all the keywords that this product is appearing for. So for example, hanging plant baskets, obviously, that's got 145 people searching for it per month. But if we start scrolling down, we might see if we can see any other keywords, like for example, tilted flower pot. So this could be another keyword that you might want to get into your listing. Or the fact that it's tiered rather than a double planter. So this could be another word to use to describe your product. Now you could also start looking down to see if anyone was looking for anything more specific. Like for example, this person's looking for spider plants. I know this is not the right keyword, but it's interesting to know that people are looking for things like specific plants. And if you could see things like words natural, so people are looking for words natural. So all of looking at these keywords, these are sort of things that can help you to decide what products you would sell and kind of how you're going to describe them once you've made them. Now once you've found the keywords that people are looking for, now you need to work out how you can stand out on the page, and this is what I call the point of difference. Now you don't want to be selling exactly the same products as other people. Firstly, this is quite unethical, but secondly, it just means you're going to be competing with that person. Now if that person has a lower price than you, or if they've got more reviews than you, then it's going to be difficult for you to compete with them without you just lowering your price. Now for example, say there's a product that someone is selling for £20 and they have 50 reviews, but you've got a new product and you've got no reviews, and the cheapest you can still sell it profitably is £21. Now which one do you think I'm going to buy as a customer? It's a bit of a no-brainer really. Now make sure you've got a point of difference to what that other seller is selling. If you can't compete with them on price or reviews, make your product different so that you're not competing with them at all. Like, for example, you can get inspiration from what other people are making and then make those products yourself in a different way. And this might be the thing that tips the balance back into your favor and helps you to get the sale. Let's just use an example here. If your competitor is selling a simple blue water bottle with a simple blue design on, then you don't want to make a simple blue water bottle with exactly the same design on, because firstly that's unethical, and secondly you're going to have to compete with that person. But if you sell a similar water bottle but with a more intricate design on and it's got a carry strap on it, you might be able to get away with a higher price even though you've got lower reviews, because you've got these added points of difference. You've got a more complicated design and you've got the carry strap. Now this points of difference will make you stand out on the page. Now it might be the tipping point that makes a customer buy your products rather than your competitors, because they might like an intricate design, or they might like carrying their water bottle using a strap. And it's things like this you can do to make your product stand out on the page. Now this is a great way to stand out, because not only are you now selling a more high quality product, but you've also created your own new product so that you're not competing with anyone on an exact like-for-like basis. Now, if you do that across your whole range, then you'll eventually get to a point where you're starting to get more reviews and you'll stand out because you're a quality maker of strappy water bottles. Now, as I said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You won't be the first person to put a strap on a water bottle or to have a more intricate design, and it's important to have this point of difference. Now, a lot of people ask me about some wacky product idea they've come up with, and in my opinion, marketplaces aren't necessarily the best place to test a completely new product, especially if it's your first product. Now, people are on marketplaces to shop. They're not on there to see the very latest trends. So make your product difference and improvement to another product instead of making something completely wacky and brand new, and that would be a much better way to start out. Now, if you are selling something completely new, then you will have to find the audience and also the keywords that people are searching for. Now, this can be really difficult, but obviously not impossible. If you are selling something completely new, then maybe look into something like Kickstarter or crowdsourcing, and that might help get your business off the ground faster. Now, the second part of this video is something that I get really excited about. It's for people who are a bit more experienced but still want to improve their store. And this is important to take into consideration even if you're just starting out, because it's good to start your business off in the right way. So for more experienced sellers, standing out from the market may be a completely different prospect, because while new sellers with not much online experience should really be going for less competitive categories to start with, some of the more experienced sellers might already be in a niche, and some of their niches might already be a little bit more competitive, or potentially you want to expand your market into something more competitive so that you can really start scaling your business. And growth is really important. You always want to be growing in your handmade business, especially if you want to make this into a full-time thing. And why wouldn't you want to turn your handmade business into a full-time thing? Firing your boss, believe me, is the best feeling ever. Now, growth doesn't have to always just mean adding new products or creating a new product range. It could be improving the product range you even have, or it could even just be learning something new, like watching my videos, which you can subscribe to here. So one of the things that I work with experienced sellers a lot is something called positioning. Now, positioning is a bit different to branding or how you make your products. Positioning is all about how you make your brand appear to the customer. Now, positioning is different to your niche in a few ways, but the way I think of it is this. Now, Armani and Next, they both sell suits, so they are in the same niche really, but the way that they portray their brands to their audience, to the outside world, is completely different, even if their stuff might even be made in the same factory, who knows. Now, you can use this positioning to attract the right sort of customer. For example, if you sell your product at a low price, you will be associated with low prices and low quality. Your products might not be low quality, but people associate low prices with low quality. It's just psychology. Now, everyone thinks that Next suits are worse than Armani suits, even though, as I said, they might be made in the same factory. But what is it that makes you think that Armani suits are better than Next suits? Well, the main thing they do differently, apart from the price, obviously, is to have really excellent pictures and marketing. Now, if you think of all the pictures of Armani suits, it's usually some hunky guy on a boat, making deals in businesses, and they're just positioning their products at rich twats who live on boats. And they do it really well, they're really good at this, and this makes them stand out from the crowd. But whereas Next position their products more at normal guys, if you look at their pictures, it's more normal guys just going to work and doing stuff or going to weddings, but it's never like the massively luxurious lifestyles. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be Armani, but you do definitely need to think about who your target market is. If your target market, for example, is women who are really into boho interiors, then you need to make sure that your pictures, your copy, your packaging, your logo, everything all fits into this brand. And this should help you to position yourself into the right audience. Now, once you start positioning yourself into your market, you can really start charging more for your products because, you've already made your product stand out from the crowd, and now you're making your brand stand out from the crowd. So now people will come back to you to buy more stuff. So you can start charging more for your products because people will be buying into the lifestyle that you'll be portraying for them. Now, if you think back to the two examples of the Etsy stores we saw earlier, one of them had all of the good photos, really great niche, really nice branding, and much higher prices. And the other one had a bit of a scattergun approach to what they were doing. Their photos weren't that great, and as a result, their prices were lower because they won't be able to sell anything. And that person might come to me and say, why can't I sell anything? Well, if that person did come to me, I'd say the first thing you need to do is to clean up your products. Now, once you've found this target market, everything you do should be targeting at the same market. So this will be your social media, your product inserts, your writing style, like everything. And you know, if you make it premium and personal, you'll hit your target market and they'll keep coming back again and again and again. And when you do get all of these things right, you really do start to have a brand. And this will make you recognizable and will make you stand out from the crowd more than anything else you can do. Now, I hope you enjoyed that video and I'll see you on the next one.